What's up everybody, Arrg the Pirate here, and today I'm going to go over the version 44 patch notes. And, really give my thoughts, because I've actually got quite a few of my own thoughts on this one. Now, in case you're wondering, we actually played a match. We called it the perfect mirror match, where we have to pick what the other team picks. So, Team A picks the first pick, Team B gets the second, Team A gets the third, back and forth like that. So that's really how we played this. It was a really fun match. It was just fun to do something like that. But let's I'll fast forward past. Now, since this video since this patch notes is pretty long, I'm going to kind of skip around and really go over the key highlight points that, really catch my attention. And let's just really jump right in, guys. The first, Feng Mao. Feng Mao's getting a rework, and I'm just kind of scratching my head going, what? Like, to me, there's so many other heroes that needed help other than Feng, so let's kind of see what these changes are. Now, the first ability that they're changing is Hamstring. Hamstring's being removed. It's going to be replaced with Crippling Strikes, and it's now a passive. After 4 hits or 20 seconds, Feng's Mao Blade will glow, and his next basic attack will deal damage in a wider arc and apply a 20, 23, 26, 29 movement slow for 2 seconds. So, this seems like a neat ability. It's basically a hamstring with the 20-second cooldown or, 4 successful hits. So you can't really, dive in, do your hamstring to slow the person unless you've already waited that 20 seconds. And, I think this is a decent change. It's another passive, so in my mind, there's a lot in this update that I'm going to say it really appeals to the casual side of Paragon. And, to me, having more passives, especially a passive like this just seems a lot more casual to me. But let's get into the other reworks. Earth Shatter has been removed in room for Imperial Sentence, which Feng Mao slams his blade to the ground, dealing ability damage to all enemies in a line in front of him, equal to 150, 275, and 400 of his power rating. He will execute heroes below health thresholds of 300, 425, and 500 power rating. And which, that's probably written incorrectly, because I don't think he's going to kill people that have less than 300 power. So I'm assuming those are health numbers instead of power ratings, but we'll see. And then he also execute heroes that are marked with or the executable heroes are marked with visual kind of glowing things, I guess. Which, this is a very cool rework with his ultimate. His ultimate has always been kind of deceiving and things like that. And this seems very neat. I'm digging this ultimate. I think this is going to be a good change. But like I said, I didn't really think Feng needed all that much. But Reaping Dash now automatically causes Feng to basic attack his target when he lands, dealing an additional 45, 70, 95, and 120 bonus damage. Adjust the teleport to hug the ground whenever possible. Range is increased from 800 to 900. Cooldown is reduced from 10 to 8 seconds at all levels. And abilities now auto-confirms. Again, this paired with his new hamstring ability or crippling strikes, it seems like Feng is going to be another very, very strong hero in my opinion. And, of course, I have not played him yet, guys, but just reading over this, it's like, wow, he's getting quite a bit, it seems like, and he's getting a passive, so it's going to be a much easier character to play, to get kills, and, it's also going to appeal to that more casual and, I wouldn't say unskilled player, but Feng is going to be much, much easier to pick up, which, in my opinion, that's kind of how Paragon has seemed to go lately. Guardian Shield, it was formerly Conversion Shield. Mana cost is being increased by 10, cooldown is being decreased by 7. He's getting a base mana reduction from 276 to 248. Base mana regen is being decreased from 0.32 to 1.23 or 1.32, and a movement speed decreased from 740 to 700. And to me, that movement speed increase, with the Reaping Dash getting a, cooldown reduction, I think it's not only just needed, I think he's still going to be a very, very big threat. Jump in with that additional range. I think Fang, they've reworked him and made him better when he didn't really need it in the first place. I think there's a lot of other heroes that could have used this, critical attention that we're getting. Next, let's move on to Gideon. Now, as we all knew, Gideon was getting this change, and it looks awesome. Burden, of course, is going away. We're now getting Void Breach. Gideon summons a Comet Projectile that pierces minions and deals ability damage. This is awesome. A caster with almost a cleave in a sense. I'm digging this. We'll definitely have to see what changes, but I am a fan. Now, Cosmic Rift's damage has been adjusted. It was 140, 240, let's just say 340 and 440, to make things simple. But it's now being adjusted to 117, 170, 222, and 275. Which that means that at rank 4, you're hitting for barely more than you were hitting at rank 2 previously. So this is huge. This is a big nerf on this damage. But it does apply a 20, 24, 28, and 32% slow for 2 seconds. And the radius has been increased from 300 to 350. So, if you are kind of lining things up, you hit them with that max rank rock and then hit them with that max rank Void Breach, you're actually doing quite a bit more damage because Void Breach hits for the same damage that the old Cosmic Rift hit for. So this is going to be huge, pairing these together. I gotta say, Gideon sounds, just with his 2 damage abilities, he sounds like he's going to be the highest damage burst caster in Paragon. Gadget, sure, but being able to spam these 2 abilities that hit for just an insane amount of damage, this is going to be big. Torn Space cooldown has been increased from 12-10-8-6 to 12-11-10-9, so not that big of a deal. Black Hole, which is the ultimate, now applies a stun effect to all affected targets. The stun only applies once and lasts the duration of the ability. It can be broken as usual. Cooldown increased from 130, 115, and 100 to 150, 135, and 120. So at max level, it's a 2-minute cooldown. Damage reduction has also been decreased, and it's 328, 450, and 562, which was the original. Now we're at 224, 304, 384. And the sound and visual has also been updated. Now, this is huge, guys. This is a big, big change for not only his ultimate, but the way you play Gideon. He can now be an engager. If you see the entire team stacked up in a group, you can use your ult, and no one can really get out of that unless they get a stasis of some sort. This is huge. And we don't really have an engaging caster, an engaging team caster. You could consider like a zoner or something, but Gideon is now going to be able to start the fight. And this is absolutely huge. I think Gideon will quickly become one of the top team players, which right now, there's a ton of solo people that play him, but you cannot play him as that team player because if you go in for that 5-person ult, you're going to die, period. And now you will be able to. If you go in for a 5-person ult, I think it's a guaranteed team wipe. This is going to be great, and I'm really looking forward to it. Grux is also getting a rework, and Charge is being replaced with Crush. Now, Crush is a lunge forward, and it deals a small amount of ability damage, but the key thing here is it does a short knock-up duration to enemies within 250 units of his destination. So, just by reading this, I'm saying, hey, we're going to have like an AoE knockup. And that's huge. That's, Crunch kind of has something like that, but you got to be pretty close. This 250 units, you could get a couple, maybe even 3 people in that. Has a 12-second cooldown, costs 75 mana. Double Pain, now it's an attack with 100% cleave that deals 120, 130, 140, 150 of Grux's base damage, plus 35, 40, 45, 50 bonus damage to all affected enemies. Cooldown has been increased from 3 to 8 seconds, so it's a much slower ability, but it actually hits people hard instead of just this tickle bleed. Smash and Grab has had all visuals adjusted. The pull and damage are now synced up with the visual effect wave. The effective range has been increased from 700 to 850, and the mana cost has been reduced from 90 to 60. I think this is huge. Hopefully it works great. Right now, Smash and Grab is pretty underwhelming. Warlord's Challenge has had a complete rework. The stun has been removed. The duration has been increased. The cooldown has been increased. It's big. So now you are going to you basically self-buff yourself for a flat bonus of 50, 100, and 150 damage, which that is up from 22, 44, and 66. So at rank 3, your rank 1 is almost hitting as hard. This is a huge buff for him. The mana cost has been reduced by 25. The duration has been increased by 6 seconds, which is, that's huge. Cooldown has been increased from 90, 70, and 50 to 110, 95, and 80. So I think we'll definitely have to wait and see, but this looks big to me. He's also had some general balance issues. His mana has been decreased from 276 to 246. Mana per level's been decreased by 1. Base regen has been decreased by 0.1. Base attack has been decreased by 3 points. Attack damage per level has been increased from 2.9 to 4. Health per level has been decreased from 85.8 to 77.2. Health regen per level has been decreased by 0.01. And basic attack timer increased from 0.85 to 0.95. So he's kind of getting adjustment. They did say they wanted to make him a full tank, but to me, looking at the adjustments, he got a big damage increase and got health reduction. So it looks like just the way it looks to me, he's going to be more of a fighter. You can build him as a tank, but he's with this, massive amount of damage that he's going to get, 150%. He's going to be able to crank out some damage, guys. So let's keep an eye on that. Now, Murdock got a little bit of a change, but man, it's really nothing crazy. I was really hoping they'd get rid of Hot Pursuit. I think Hot Pursuit is just hot garbage, but they're keeping that in there. Buckshot's getting a little bit of a fix. To me, this really isn't a rework. This really isn't a change. They're just kind of adjusting a few things. No big deal. Rampage is getting a rework, which, this seems like it's going to kind of really change Rampage. And I don't know for the better. Pounce is being replaced by a movement slowed ability damage type of ability called Rumble. Rampage pounds the ground, dealing ability damage, and applies a slow, and slows 20, 35, 30, 35, and 40% movement slow for 2 seconds. And it's on a 7-second cooldown. Pounce was a great ability. It allowed you to do things that were a little too aggressive and still have that safety net to get out. Now you're not going to have that. You're not going to have your engage is definitely going to have to be your rock, and you're going to have some follow-up. You're not going to be able to rock and then jump to anybody, or, tower dive and jump out of the situation. So I think this is really going to change how Rampage plays. Boulder Throw got a mana reduction, so, that's great, and you'll be able to hold it until you cancel it. Canceling it doesn't cost mana. That's amazing. They should have never changed it in the first place. King of the Jungle is getting a buff. You go from 0.75, 1, 1.25, and 1.5 regen to 1.4, 1.8, and 2.2. I think this is great. The duration is also being increased from 5 to 8. Enrage, increased regeneration from King of the Jungle from 3, 4, 5, 6 to 5, 7, 9, 11. Mana cost decrease from 50, 30, 10 to 50, 25, 0. So max level, it's free, and that's big. Rumble's radius is increased, and its cooldown is reduced from 7.3, which don't really get that. That's probably miswrote because, you know, it's a new ability. It can't be reworked. But a couple of general balance things. He's getting a basic defense increase, movement speed increase, base health increase, health per level increase, and base health regen increase, which I did not think Rampage really had any issues. Thought he was a great hero, and he really got buffed all the way around, except he did lose the ability to jump. So I think Rampage mains, you'll have to let me know, but it looks like the way you play him is going to make a slight shift. Twinblast is getting a rework, and he's going to be the last hero I really talk about. And the first being Hotshot. Now, Hotshot replaces Rapid Fire, and now after hitting 12 basic attacks, you get like 12 basic empowered rounds. And they now critically strike for 10, 15, 20, and 25% bonus damage and lock 2 heroes. So I'm guessing that you're going to still have to aim. You can't just like shoot up in the air and they hit them. I'm guessing that you do bonus damage to only 1 hero after those 12 basic attacks. And Hot Pursuit does apply to structures. So, you know, it rip Durango. You know, I wasn't a fan of, I was a fan of Triple Shot. I thought it was great, but this seems like it's really removing Durango out of the picture because you're getting those empowered rounds, and 25% bonus damage is huge. But we'll have to wait and see. It lasts 10 seconds if not consumed. Double shot. Twinblast fires his right gun, then followed up with the left one. The bullet from the right gun applies an on-hit effect and deals 75% of his normal basic damage, and the bullet from the left gun does not apply the on-hit effect, but does 25% damage. So basically, this ability, you shoot twice and it does just 1 bullet damage, but it applies a on-hit ability. Now, they did not write what the on-hit ability is. I'm assuming it's going to be like an armor shred or something because he already has a slow in his kit, but we'll have to wait and see. Grenade. Twinblast fires a grenade that explodes after bouncing or hitting an enemy. That's a change, so it bounces now, dealing ability damage and applying a 12, 16, 20, and 24% movement speed decrease for 1 second, and the grenade has 3 charges. So, grenade didn't go away, but now it's a slow, so Twinblast is going to be the only ADC anybody plays anymore, it looks like. He's got a slow in his kit, he's got special bullets that do crazy damage, and he's got a third on-hit ability that we don't know about. So, I mean, this is big. And then Rocket Dash now grants a grenade charge, which that's huge. And it's also going to actually work at 650 units instead of, that kind of goofy, it changed every once in a while. Twinblast new ADC. Rip Sparrow, rip Murdock, rip everybody. Twinblast forever. So I don't really know how I feel about these changes to Twinblast. They seem like they're making him like a kit hero, sort of like Durango or Grim. Both of those heroes suffer because they need some sort of kit. They can slow you, they can blow you away, they can block ability damage, or Durango's got special bullets that do tons and tons of damage. Twin is getting kind of everything. He's got a third ability we don't know about. He's got a slow in his kit. He's got a getaway in his kit, and he's got special bullets that increase damage in his kit. I'm not a fan, guys. I think this is way too much with Twinblast. Of course, I haven't played him, but I think this is kind of putting him in a league above, you know, someone like Sparrow and Murdock, which he was on level with, and putting him in a different area other than Durango and Grim, kind of putting him in the middle, which we all know being in the middle is where you want to be. So I think, I don't know, I don't think this is going to be, it's going to be a great change for Twinblast players, but it's not going to be a great change in opening up the variety for other type of players. Before I get into the card changes, because this kind of explains the card, one of the card changes anyways, I thought I'd post or let you see this and kind of go over it. Minions are being redesigned in a two-step process. The first step arriving in V44, and it's adjusting the critical last hit factor that is in within Paragon. Now, when you damage a minion roughly around 20% health, that minion will be executed and you'll be rewarded gold for it. So basically, everybody's going to have Call the Week. Pretty much always. And then there are also a couple of redesign things, you know, this HUD, things like that. And the last redesign visual thing we'll get is in V44.3. Last hitting is not very clear in MOBAs, and we want to make it better in Paragon. This change, or these changes, allow you to clearly understand when you can last hit and when you can't. And, you know, I gotta say, this is another change meant for casual players, guys. Like, now you can last hit minions no matter what. And this is not only going to speed up games, but it's going to reward people less that have mastered the skill of last hitting. I just gotta say, I don't really enjoy this change, and I don't like it at all. Okay, so let's kind of go over the cards, and then I'll kind of go into that next step. So, Call of the Week no longer executes minions below 20% health because everybody will be able to do that. Increased minion execution threshold by 50 health. So you basically, I'm guessing, last hit minions at 50% health, something like that. I don't know how much exactly 50 health is compared to a laning minion, but I would have to say it's pretty substantial. So, you know, maybe 30%, 40%, something like that. Lord Volok, or whatever that is, now reduces the gold lost every 10 seconds from 100 to 85. Still don't think it's going to be a very used card. Minions are now executed when attacked with low health. You know, the jungle minions will now have 1,100 health, or the large jungle minions. The green buff also got a health buff. Structures ability damage no longer deals structure damage, which, you know, it dealt really low structure damage, but now it's just going to go away. Core has been reworked to now not do an AoE blast, but a single target attack. And to be honest, I think this is kind of silly. I'm not into this at all. I was really into the AoE blast. This is now going to allow people to tank the core. And before, you know, you couldn't really tank the core. I don't know, just not a big fan of that. Hopefully we'll see something. Now, Black Buff is coming back, which the whole reason they removed Black Buff was for the visual thing, but we're getting a new Black Buff, and it's going to be in the form of a minion. It's going to look like the green buff, but, you know, he's black. And it's now going to grant Hunter's Sight. Hunter's Sight increased melee damage by 20% and range by 15%. So it's the first real range boost we've seen. That's cool with me. It's going to replace one of the white camps that were on that off-lane side. And, you know, hey, that's great. It also grants vision to enemies in a large radius around you, but does not go into the shadow plane. So you can be aware of ganks if they're coming. You know, hey, that's cool. I'm into it. Now, I did skip over movement slows. They are getting converted into percentages instead of flat numbers, and movement slows will no longer stack with each other. Only the greatest magnitude will remain. And I just, is this a nerf to Dominion of Stillness? Is that going to work with your slows? You know, is like Gadget's Tesla Dome, is Dominion of Stillness going to do more of a slow than the actual ult itself so you can still get out? You know, this would effectively remove this card from use. Not only that, which, you know, hey, I kind of think the card's overpowered anyways, but does that also mean you're not going to be able to use your Tesla Dome and your Seek and Destroy to stop somebody? Or is it specifically between two separate heroes? You know, there's a lot of questions about this, and you can see it's not really explained to the extent that I'd like, so I just kind of glanced over it. Last thing I'm going to talk about before this video wraps up is Fangtooth. Now, Fangtooth replaces the 3 raptors with a giant raptor. Every time you kill it, you get a buff for your team. The first one is 1,000 gold plus 4 power. Second is 4 power and 10% out of combat movement speed. Third is 4 power and 15% non-damage or non-hero damage. And lastly, fourth and above is just a flat 8 power. The Fangtooth is going to do 3 damage per apply a burn that does 3% damage of current health per player as ability damage, so it looks like we might have to have some team rotation to deal with that. And hey, I'm into it. Having another team-wide buff, and you know, you might see fights going over those raptors again instead of it being a minor inconvenience. Into this, you know, 5,000 gold for that first kill is huge. You know, that's your entire team getting 1,000, and then 4 power. You know, that could give you a significant damage spike, so definitely into that. I'm going to leave the UI stuff for, you know, I kind of went over it before, and really when you're talking about visual things and trying to read them, you know, it doesn't work quite right, in my opinion. So I'm going to leave that for later. Hopefully, you know, everything looks good. But that's going to wrap it up, guys. Sorry the video was late. I tried to rush it out as quickly as possible. You know, they didn't come out with the patch notes till later, and dealing with the kid, you know, it was a little bit more. I do like some of the changes, but again, overall, I get the feeling that the changes are more casual. And I don't know how I feel about that. We'll definitely have to wait and see, guys. Well, if you have any opinions or anything like that, and, you know, want to share them, definitely get at me in the comments. I'd love to talk to y'all guys. And if you enjoyed this video, show me some love. Leave me a comment. Think about subscribing. And as always, I'll see y'all in the next video.